Do you remember? Yeah, hello. Do you remember what we even talked about episode 1 of this show?
Episode 1, that was just totally us just doing a Facebook Live, just to see if anyone would even join even care.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone knew what was going on then. But yeah, we were just talking. It was just totally a test thing to see if anyone cared enough to watch.
I've done a podcast several times, like hosting my own podcast several times. And what's interesting is that what I have found in with this one is that having a co-host, and I've had co-hosts before on other things, but like wishy-washy, not wishy-washy, but just like they didn't care as much, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so having that partner in something like this, I really think helps the longevity of something continue. Because if you're down,
it's like a co-founder.
Like a co-founder, what I was also thinking about from this perspective is like when you're working out, it's better to have a buddy. Even whether or not you can run with them, go to the gym with them. You know, if I go to the gym, I'll see, you know, a lot of people are together with other individuals. And so is it just because it's good to have someone else? I mean, is there any, I'm sure there's studies on this type of stuff, but like,
yeah,
because you run by yourself the overwhelming majority of the time. I've only recently got into this world with you. But do you see any of that?
Yeah. I mean, I think accountability is, having an accountability partner is really important.
Yeah.
And right now, as we've talked about so many times on this show, my accountability partner just happens to be my run streak. So that's what keeps me accountable. And this weekend is going to be a tough one.
Do you have a treadmill at your house?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll get it in. Even
I'll run outside. I'll run outside in a torrential downpour before getting on the treadmill.
Well, today we are delighted to bring on today's guest, Mr. Jake Maines. Jake, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think about accountability partners and just the such of that?
I think it's super important. I mean, that's why I hired you, my guy. You definitely helped to hold me accountable. And for those who don't know, Zack Miller is a pretty awesome business coach. That
was not a softball for you to pitch. I really wasn't trying to do that.
Well,
I'll take it, but
yeah. No, I think it's been it's definitely helpful, and I could see what from your all's perspective. Back in the day, we hosted lives each week, and they ended up fizzling out. But I think having a partner to kind of play off of really helps the dynamic.
And I think that's why, because initially, how long did it take us, Zach? We did this for over a year before we crossed over and moved to a podcast platform, just because I just think that everybody got Facebook Live fatigue. And
70, I think 75 episodes or so before.
Yeah.
Because it was November of last year.
Yeah. Right.
So, wow, 2 years.
I think that's probably a big factor. COVID really, in the beginning of COVID, people were excited about watching the lives, going to those, online events. But 6 months, a year into it, I was over it for sure. So that probably factored into things fizzling out.
I did my first in-person meeting, like office meeting, yesterday for the first time since COVID. Now, yes, I've had meetings with people, or I've gone to a coffee shop, or I've gone to a lunch, but actually like having to go to an office, and actually like I don't have an office anymore. So I didn't know where to go. I happened to call these great guys at Pierce McCoy, and they happened to let me use their conference room. But like I'm sitting there, I'm like, where am I going to do this? And then there's not a lot. Apparently, it's not that uncommon that people don't know where to have office meetings anymore because they don't want to do it. They don't do it. They don't go in an office.
Well, that, and everyone's got a ton of unused office space, but everyone's trying to get a little something in return cost wise. But
I can't blame them there. But if I can find somebody who's going to, then whatever.
Well, look at that. Pierce McCoy just got a shout out. So.
go. What do you think about streaks, Jake? You've been a runner for at least a little while. I don't know if your background is in running or any kind of capacity, but do you follow any kind of streak? Do you have some sort of streak that you're into? Tim is at like 14,000 days straight of basically 2 miles running. Do you have anything like that?
I do not. I have not always been a runner. I dabbled with it, here and there after college, and did some Spartan races and Tough Mudders and a couple short triathlons. But really got into running after volunteering at the Shamrock Marathon, and I was serving beers and realized I need to be on the other side. So started training for my first half marathon right before COVID, and COVID ended up, canceling that. But yeah, I mean, that back to the original question about streaks. No, I can't run every single day. With some of these long runs, I just need to be laying in bed the entire next day after,
with your newly purchased compression boots.
Yes, sir. Those are fantastic. Great investment.
So yeah, I'm curious. So do you feel a difference with those? I don't know. It's totally getting off on a tangent here.
It seems to help the recovery a bit, the soreness to get away quicker. So the story behind those boots, I tried them out at a local shop a couple times, and they have like a monthly membership. So I was paying for that and reached out to Zack, and I were texting, and I showed him those, and he was like, yeah, probably just buy these. And we basically we framed buying those around my Q3 goal. So just crushed my Q3 goal, and ended up buying those. And it's nice to incentivize yourself to give yourself a nice pat on the back with something that you've wanted after, working hard for a goal.
Do you reward yourself in any capacity, Tim?
Well, I guess I joke amongst friends that that's allows me to eat the way that I want to eat and drink the way that I want to drink. But that's about it.
Got it. Yeah. So the concept was, I think so many people don't reflect back on stuff that they've done, or they look at things too granularly. I'm the one who can't speak today. And it's like, okay, go after this goal, get it, and then reward yourself so that you can appreciate that. And, it took a little while for Jake to accomplish that. It wasn't like a one-day goal. And, I've heard the story that he was like a kid on Christmas morning opening that box. And then he's got to have this thing for a long time, and it's going to help him. So I think more people need to reflect and reward themselves and stuff like that. And so I think it's in anything. It's important.
Yeah. Checking the goal off is, it's great. You've achieved that goal. It's in my case, it was a number of transactions, which correlates to a, revenue goal. But just making money isn't really, the objective. It's, I want to grow my business. So we set goals for that. But the money isn't really the end all be all there. So having something else that is really it's really the icing on the cake.
Yeah. I think one thing that you got a really cool story, just in terms of your profession, what you do, the fact that you're younger. Talk about it. Yeah. So you're in the real estate. Talk about how you got into that. Any challenges that you faced in terms of being younger. And then I got some follow-on questions to that, but I want you to lay the groundwork first in terms of what led you to where you are today.
So I started at Old Dominion University, and I knew I eventually wanted to open my own business. Didn't know what that was going to be, but after seeing my stepdad and my grandfather, they both had businesses that they had started themselves, and they both didn't know marketing. And I looked at other people's businesses, And it's like, great, you have your skill set, but all of these businesses really need marketing. So I knew I eventually wanted to open the business, a business of my own, but didn't know what it was going to be. So studied marketing, and then transitioned into a full-time role at a marketing agency. Worked there. Actually worked at one marketing agency, and then it was very much a startup. It fizzled out, and transitioned into another marketing agency out in Chesapeake, Array Digital, and worked there for 5 years. And as COVID hit, I was, out with a realtor looking at properties to flip, and I realized I'm not the money guy, I'm not the realtor, I'm not the contractor. I need a foot in the door. So I decided to get my real estate license, and there's a cost to having your real estate license. So I leveraged having the license to help some friends and family over that first year of having my license. Changed focus, moved away from wanting to flip houses. I focused more on recurring revenue, rental properties. But yeah, after about a year doing it on the side, I realized, hey, my position at this marketing agency has moved a lot more. I'm overseeing a big team behind the scenes. I really enjoyed the customer facing stuff, and that's the kind of stuff I'm doing out and about with real estate, doing a lot more networking. So that's when I decided to make that transition and go full time, do a lot more of the things that I was enjoying doing. And I really couldn't be happier with that. Definitely all of the experience that I had in marketing is really, really helping to boost my business up and make it a business that's unlike a lot of, the real estate companies out there.
I mean, in general, I'm not looking for like exact numbers or anything, but just generally speaking, are real estate agents in your area typically much older, or is there a new wave of folks that are entering that field?
You definitely have the old heads, and I mean, it seems like every day there's a new realtor on the block, which is, So I don't think, back to your original question about age, I definitely have a baby face. I'm 29, and I don't think it's necessarily held me back, but it comes up in conversation like, oh, you're so young. I'm like, yeah. Then I throw in, I'm almost 30,
That's the rebuttal. Yeah, I'm almost 30.
Well, and we talked about this on last week's show, and where I'm going with all this is like, what do you do to gain the trust? What steps do you have to put in place? Because, and we talked about it on last week's show as well, when it comes to buying a home, I mean, that's like the biggest purchase that someone's going to make in their entire life. And so why does somebody trust you, and what things did you do to start earning the trust from people? Or was it just a matter of, hey, I need to go out and build a network because I'll use it as a numbers game with that angle?
I think it's a bit of both. I think having the numbers, having a big contact list that you can tap into and stay top of mind with is helpful. But also adding value without being salesy, because there's so many realtors out there, and in a lot of professions, there's a lot of people out there, and you have to set yourself apart. So I decided to add value without having to sell. I really enjoy connecting people, introducing friends to other friends. And I also really enjoy hosting events. So I started a networking happy hour where I was able to, achieve both of those things and really, do something that I'm enjoying while adding value for all of these potential clients that are out there. And I think that that's really helped to build that trust. People come to my event and they, tell their friend, and when you have a referral, I think that is an immediate trust boost. And and then having this groundwork of, people coming out to these events and seeing my emails each month that aren't salesy. I met with someone yesterday who, asked me to come to lunch and help, pick my brain about, how to go about sending all of these emails to stay top of mind without being salesy. And it makes me feel great that, I am kind of now known for this big event that's really adding a lot of value for a lot of people. A lot of people are doing business at these events, and then that adds the trust that, I'll work with Jake when the time comes.
Because if you think about it, and you said this, there's a ton of realtors, right? I mean, I don't know what the number is, but like, it seems like 1 in 4 people is a realtor, right? And you see these, that number, yes, it's a Zack stat, but it might be real. Like,
but the thing about it with that though, you got, like, I think that there's probably 80%, upwards to 80% that will sell 1 or 2 homes an entire year. And then the other side of the token, the rest, the 10, 15%, those are the hustlers that are out there. Sure. So it's like, there's a ton of them, but the velocity or the numbers that they're doing is so skewed.
Those stats are straying away from Zack's stats. The stats that you dropped there, Tim. That the 80-20 rule is definitely real in the real estate world. But there are a ton of them out there, and there are a lot of them taking the approach of, hey, want to buy a house? Hey, want to buy a house? And when I got my real estate license, I was hesitant about, and then went full time into it. I was hesitant about even introducing myself as a realtor, just because it just has that stigma around it. So now I'm embracing it, but I am really trying to take a different approach, because I'm the only people I told my clients, the only people I'm selling are the listing agent on, negotiating on your behalf and getting you the best deal. Other than that, I don't like selling people. I don't want to force anybody into buying a house that they don't want, or
So because there's so many of these people, and even those, those 80%, like Tim is saying, that only sell a house or two, those are probably the most annoying ones, who actually like just constantly are pushing that, they're a realtor, or here's this post, and it's just like, geez, like, this seems to be obsessive. But that's what people kind of think about in these situations. So then it becomes this rotten taste in your mouth, where you're like, ugh, I don't even want to be around these people. Like, oh, am I going to this meeting and there's going to be a realtor there? I think you're kind of alluding to that, why you don't even tell people that. So knowing that you're going to use a strategy that is not salesy, like, was that difficult to implement? Was that hard for you to get involved in? Because I think a lot of people think, to make money, to make sales, to sell houses, you got to sell, and you're doing something completely different. Like, was that easy to jump on, or how did it all go down?
I think, obviously we've talked about realtors and having that mentality, but I think that mentality spreads throughout a lot of different industries. Everyone is focused on getting the sale and not about the value of relationships. And even in my first year, I would text people and say, hey, I got my real estate license, and, if you're looking to buy a house, would love to help. And it just put definitely a weird feeling. I got a weird feeling. I'm like, this is not me. I don't want to be doing this. And I knew I needed something like this event, and, like the contact list that I have that's come from this event, and, the ability to stay top of mind. I don't think that everyone realizes that there is this different way of doing it, that the relationships, and, they don't want to play the long game. And
that's exactly what I was about to say. You're playing the long game, and that's just, so many people don't have the patience. Everybody wants it now. They want that instant gratification, instant success. And I would even venture to say that you're playing the long game, even in a way that you may or may not even be thinking about, in the sense of, I don't know what the category of homes that you focus on, but I would imagine that as you age and as your circle of influence continues to age and gain wealth, that the type of houses that you would sell will also increase. So it's like, before you get to the $1 million homes, you got to start by building with a couple $100,000 homes. And then, so that's a long game within itself, is it not?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's definitely part of the plan there. And I don't even know if I forever want to be a realtor. I like I said, I love hosting these events and connecting people, and that I'm really passionate about. I do really enjoy real estate, and I think it's a fantastic investment. I have a rental property that I bought when I was 25. We just bought another property. So I think real estate is great, but yeah, this having more connections is opening up opportunities for me that I don't know where they're going to take me. And when we talk about the long game, it's kind of funny that the long game is basically 14 months right now. Everything is really, really hitting. And I'm surprised. It's really surprising because we thought this was going to take, a lot longer for all of the work and, the patience to really come to fruition. But I mean, I have almost as many transactions under contract today that I need for my fourth quarter goal. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked with how things are going. And it's really truly mostly referral based, which is
from a long game perspective though. In real estate, most people aren't buying. What's the average? Every 7 or 8 years, something like that. So, if you meet someone, annoy them immediately, and they just bought a house, you got 8 years before they're ready to do anything anyway. So you screwed up that whole thing when there could be so much from a relationship building aspect of that you missed out on because you were being a donkey, within the first 6 seconds. So.
Yeah, I will admit though, it's this event, great way to stay top of mind. But coming up with something like that for every person out there to have this unique value add can be difficult, and it's a little bit frightening. Oh
well, not everyone's willing to do an event either.
True, but yes, but still, I think coming up, whether it's an event or something else, it's hard to come up with that value add, and people get a little bit scared when they're sitting on their couch in the middle of the day and not texting people, not having contacts with these people, and so having a unique value add is I think the way to go for any business, and lets you stay top of mind for sure.
Well, I think that an interesting comparison, I want to hear your take on this. So what Shark Tank is to entrepreneurship, pick a real estate show on television, and how does that skew? It's just like $1 million listing or whatever the case is. People watch this and then they're, oh man, I want to be a realtor. And that is just so dramatized. And so it just, what's your take on people that watch a show and then all of a sudden next thing you know, they want to be the next?
I can't even watch those shows. They're so ridiculous. My girlfriend likes them. I'm like, please, let's watch something else. I've done enough real estate for the day. I can't continue watching this ridiculous, these ridiculous, people acting on the show. It happens with people who want to flip a house too. And, it's tough to flip a house. They don't know what, you don't know what you're getting into, and you watch a show and then, think that it's possible, but finding those deals and dealing with the contractors is a pain. My mom still wants to flip a house, and she's been, she watches we used to watch HGTV together for years, and she's like, yep, now that you're a realtor, we're going to flip a house.
That's right.
Like, all right, yeah, we will, but
a flip or flop, 9 out of 10, they make it this amazing return. And then rarely do you ever see the flop, and it's so misleading.
Right. Well, it's entertainment, right? I mean, you're like at the crux of it, people got to look at it. It's on TV. You're scrambling, and maybe that's the wrong word, but you're compressing. I would imagine a 90, 180 day thing into 42 minutes.
Right. It's like a fishing show. You can go fishing on a boat and you catch one fish all day. You turn on a fishing show and they're just reeling them in as soon as the bait hits the water.
Yeah. And people are late. That actually, the way you just said that is why I think soccer is not popular in America.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, soccer is like chess, right? It's too long. There's not breaks. You like, football is popular because every 3 minutes there's a break, and every 15 seconds there's a new play, basically. And people are so ADD that they can't look at something from that long, and it's amazing. So I'm gonna go watch some fishing today, Tim. But I want to watch the live stream, watch the whole damn thing.
How do you watch fishing these days? Is that on the Ocho?
I'm not sure. One of my good friends from college, he fishes, and I've never fished with him, but I'm sure he would know. So I'll reach out to him, and I'll let the guests know next week where you can learn about fishing.
Yeah, please do.
Episode 128 is the first time that we've talked about fishing, so check that one off the box.
Everything comes back to business, man. That's just how it. But I mean, circling it back to is you starting your event, Jake. I mean, it's just one of those deals. It's like when you first start, Zack went through it. I went through it. I'm sure you went through it. That very first 1, 2, 3, 4 events that you have, you're like, man, I hope somebody shows up. But it takes that courage and to put yourself out there, and hopes that you can provide value so that one person will come back next time, and then maybe they bring a friend or two, but you got to stick to it. And again, it's the long game.
Yeah, consistency is definitely important. And I mean, it's not like I just put the event together, though. I mean, it still took some hustle. I started with a Facebook event and invited, a ton of people on my Facebook page that were in the area. I also texted like everyone that I knew through my phone contacts that I knew was in the area, inviting them out to the event. I used to network at the first agency I was at. I was in a BNI group. So I visited all the BNI chapters, and I had this huge stack of cards. So went through all of those cards, calling people saying, hey, I have your business card from back in the day. Would love to put it to use and not throw it out. Do you want to come out to this event? But
even that is different, right? If you think about it, I think most people have a backpack of those business cards, right? I'm sure I have a shoebox of those business cards. Most people who are in that situation would then call them and say, let's go get coffee, right? And I think a lot of people get annoyed with that scenario. By just switching that to let me come out to my event, it's different. You're providing them a lot more opportunities than that. And so I think most people will miss that that catch on that. That's a huge thing. You were doing something completely different, and by getting them to go somewhere else instead of let's hop on a quick call and see how things are going, or let's get coffee, or let's see how we can network together. It's, if you do the same thing as other people, you're going to get the same result. And so I think that's why you saw success early on in that, because you were doing something different.
I would say so, yeah.
Do you remember, Tim, like some of the first events? Like I think people underestimate how hard it is to get people at an event. 100%. And even when you have a free event, people say they're going to show up. Even when there's paid events, you're still like, are people going to show up? Like I remember I used to, after hours, 5 p.m. to 9 a.m., I would message people and be like, yo, I'm doing this event. I think you should come to it. Like, there's so much of that. And I remember like the first Start Norfolk, neither of you guys went to it, but like we had sold tickets and I still was like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I feel like, looking back, that was probably November 2011, 2020. Yeah, it had to be 2011. I mean, that was a long time ago. And it was just like, there was nothing like that before. And so no one knew what to expect. There was some excitement. I think that helped, spin off a lot of other stuff, but like, it is hard. Most people aren't willing to put in that kind of effort. I feel like I put in way more hours in that than I got return, from a financial perspective, at least at that moment. But I think it helps build up your relationships and your net worth, and it's yeah, it's what you got to do. And I think it sets you apart. So
yeah, it's totally 100%. And it translates right over, like we've talked about it with this show, how hard it is. Like the next thing that's dramatized, like I listen to my kids, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, so and so on YouTube, they only have 1.2 million subs, or they only have a couple million people," and it's just like, until you have a show, until you have a channel on YouTube, to know how hard it is to get a subscriber. I mean, you want to talk about the long game and just consistency and constantly putting out content. It is a long grind. Boy, is it tough.
Yeah, I think COVID really helped me because in the timing of starting this event, because people were really ready for an event like this. An in-person happy hour. They were tired of, the Zoom meetings. But the thing about this event is that it's unlike a lot of the other networking events out there. There aren't people shoving business cards in your face. People are really there to build relationships because the people there see the value of relationships. And I think that the word of mouth is really helping push this along. And every day I'm having new people sign up on my email list to come out to the events.
And how often do you have the events?
They're once a month. I chose the first Wednesday of the month from 5 to 8 to host them, and I pick a different bar or restaurant in the area to have them at. So now I'm just trying to find bars and restaurants that are close enough to the interstate, have enough parking, have enough space, and we're it's slim pickings with about an average of 80 people are coming out to the events each month. So it's
And we'll make sure we include in the show notes the link, the registration link, so they can for those watching on the screen, it's on the screen and will be in the show notes so that you can get connected as well.
Thank you.
You mentioned this email list that you've been able to acquire, this guest list that you've been able to acquire. It is, some people love email, some people hate email. I tend to think that you love email because that's what you're using to get people there. But how have you been able to actually grow that? Because you just said you're getting a couple new people a day. I mean, that's a lot for, a thing that's not, millions of people. There's not, there's only so many people that you actually have as a pool to go after, and you're getting a couple a day. That's a big thing. How are you doing that?
Well, so first I took it off Facebook and I'm sending Google Calendar invites. So I need to have those emails. And I think it's very important for people to have their own contact list and not relying on Facebook. I have this Excel sheet with everyone's info, notes, all their emails, and I'll copy and paste it into a calendar invite. But that in itself forces people who, are talking to their friends about the event to, then send their friend the link, which, we just put on the screen, and people will sign up through that link. I also was featured recently in Inside Business about, the event was featured and myself. So that was a huge boost. I had probably 150 signups off of that, which is pretty incredible from a marketing standpoint. When we talk about funnels and conversion rates, I mean, the amount and the people being so sporadic and just reading headlines these days, to have 150 people actually come to my website from Inside Business and actually fill out the form, after having to read the whole article, get to the bottom and click that link and not just read the headline, that was pretty incredible.
I've never seen that before. I mean, especially from something like that. That's not a diss on Inside Business or anything like that. But like, I would love to know from a click-through perspective if that was like the highest click-through of an outside piece ever, because I've been in Inside Business plenty of times. Now, maybe I didn't have something like go sign up for this thing, and maybe I did, but like, hell, I was on the cover of a magazine, and I don't think I got 150 website visits from that. Yes, physical, it's not the same thing. I know, I hear what the people are saying, but like, that's impressive. So like, have you talked to Inside Business about that? Because like, maybe they should feature you more. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, have you ever seen that, Tim? I mean, it's just, It's wild.
Well, I can only assume that it's something that didn't happen, because if it did, then that would certainly be part of a marketing pitch for those people that can support those numbers. So the thing that I'm most interested in, where I was alluding to everything in the beginning, was you're a younger person and you're doing different things. And me, I'm a little bit older than you by quite a bit. I sit in these meetings, right? And it's always the reoccurring theme at all these meetings is, how do we get the younger people? How do we attract the younger people? And then I look around the room and I'm like, you don't have a single younger person in this room to give you the feedback. So like when we're talking business 101, go out and talk to your customers. And if your customers are the younger people, and then you're still not talking to them, and then you get the same result every single time. I mean, that's the definition of insanity. Are you invited to these groups that are trying to attract the younger generation?
Well, first I have to mention that Zach, why do you have a magazine from 10 years ago next to you? Just because you're featured in it? That's my business coach. Come on, we're trying to be moving forward.
It came up in a discussion right before the show on this bookshelf of books that is behind me that I have read 0 of the books on. I happen to have 3 copies of this magazine. It came up, I pulled it out, and that's why it's on my desk. And that's the answer. Anything else? Come on, man.
To answer your question, I like being involved in the community, a lot, and a lot of organizations are run by older folks. So I'm kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm enjoying myself by getting more involved. And like you said, that the income levels are going to continue to increase as I connect with people that, have more money, and then the houses that I'm selling will be more expensive. So there's a little bit of intention there with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting involved with organizations, and I tend to be, the younger guy there. Unless it's, the younger under 40 groups, it seems like, I'm one of the younger guys there, but they're excited to have me, because I think of what you're saying. They're looking for these younger folks. They're really,
and I guess to follow up, I hope that, 1, I hope that they're asking for your input, and 2, I hope that they listen and act on the input that you're providing.
The ones that I'm putting more of my energy towards are for sure, open, and they are, shifting with the times, and I think it's going well with a couple organizations. The one in particular that comes to mind is the Nobleman. I've had a really good time.
I think these are different organizations, right? So I know that you're actively getting into some of these organizations like the Nobleman and stuff like that, but I think Tim was talking more about like economic development groups in the region that are trying to attract or keep young people.
And it's not chambers or whatever, any business.
You're working with more philanthropy groups that are trying to do great for the community. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they are 2 different things. And I don't think that those groups historically are reaching out and grabbing a diverse.
I mean, so for people that are listening, a lot of the people that Zack mentioned they do listen and watch the show. What's the best way for people that want to connect with a younger generation to connect with them, to invite them to meetings to collect input? Is it to go to your networking event? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a really broad spectrum of ages at the events. Like I said, I've been intentional with the groups and the places that I'm hanging out to really diversify the type of people that I'm meeting, and then bring all of those people to the event. And I have intentions of getting more involved with the economic development, just just trying to work my way in there. But you're right. It is a little bit harder as a younger person to work our way into some of those organizations where actual decisions are being made for the community, and ultimately I see myself moving into roles that allow me to help make decisions for the community.
And I'm not even suggesting that you need to. I mean, I think that your name is getting out there. There's buzz about your meetups that you do. So you're attracting people. I'm certainly not suggesting that you need to go out and be intentional to hit a specific group. But
no, I hear you for sure. But it's been top of mind for me is with the new path that they're going to build on the Norfolk, hopefully build on the Norfolk Southern Railway from basically town center to the ocean front. That's a big push that the city's working on, and
like a running path.
It's a running, walking, biking path, and
cool.
They're working.
That sounds like the W&OD trail in Northern Virginia.
That's a great trail, and I'm hoping that that this comes to fruition, because that could be really cool. The wind energy, big on that, and I actually took a tour of the port. So there are things like that, but it seems like a lot of it's been high level, and I'm working with the Lynnhaven River now to get more involved with city council and try to help make decisions there as well. So definitely something that is highly interesting to me and that I'm passionate about. But I'm getting those next steps rolling to kind of break through some of those barriers where there is that age gap.
Well, and I'm interested just, and the thing that I'm happy about is that that you're younger and you're leading a different group, if you will. And so as I just breaking through different things, bringing a new energy, I think is really, really important. And I mean, I'm hoping at some point that you had mentioned making sure that you can find places to host this event, especially as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I hope that more people open up their doors. I mean, how great would it be if you do I don't know what night you normally do your events,
Wednesdays.
but Wednesdays, I mean, if that's a slower night for hotels, I mean, it'd be great if they would open up, the ballroom, because you have the data knowing that you have X amount of people that show up, and that that would be an increase of revenue spend that these different places would have. And I hope that people continue to support you and open up those avenues.
Yeah,
something I found, just to piggyback off that, in most events like this, those people who are going have never been to that facility either. So it's an open invitation for people to check out something that they were never going to anyway. So it always boggles my mind when it's like, well, no one was going to go there. These people weren't going to go there. So you're basically getting free advertising. Like,
it surprised me that there were a handful that weren't as not necessarily accommodating, but like appreciative of the free marketing and influx of revenue for the night. But there have been, a good amount of businesses that have been, super welcoming, and those are the ones that I'm going to go back to again. And also, continuing to keep on the lookout for other places, because I do really, it's fun to bring people to a place that they've never been to, and try some new food.
What's your favorite location so far that where you've hosted an event?
That's a tough one. I have it. I don't know that I can shout out just one, but
we're just always looking for cool places to try.
We've done 2 at Wasserhund in Virginia Beach, so I will say that they have been super accommodating and definitely a great location.
One pain point that individuals have going to an event is meeting that person that they don't want to, that annoying person that is selling them, overselling them and being annoying and something like that. You pride yourself in being an event that doesn't have that. How do you eliminate that person, though, that inevitably is going to roll into the event and be the annoying salesperson that no one wants to be around?
I'm definitely not afraid to have a conversation. Pull the person aside later on, or after they're done with the conversation that they're having, and just explain, hey, this isn't that type of event. Try to build a relationship. If you want me to introduce you to anybody in particular, I can do that. And honestly, if it gets too excessive, then I can easily take people off the invite list.
Well, and I think that
do people freak out that?
No, sometimes they'll just end up signing up again on Eventbrite.
Do you like on the invites? Do you have like some ground rules, like, hey, these are the do's, these are the don'ts?
I don't, and I think just people see the culture when they come, and they realize, okay, I'm here to just hang out. It's like going to a bar from 5 to 8, and everybody there is going there to meet people and make friends. It's not stuffy. It's not people like being like, like, I don't want to talk to that person.
Well, you don't go to a tailgate at a football game. You don't go to ODU's tailgate, this weekend and be like, oh, what do you do for a living? You hang out, you enjoy, you build a relationship. It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah. People are latching on to that without even anything needing to be said.
Mm-hmm. It is amazing how, when you have events like that you have, and that how people will self-police, and just a phrase that we've been saying lately in our household is, sometimes the trash takes itself out. So the people that you don't want will get that feeling and then not return.
I would say so. Yeah.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to start using that.
I have, like, the example that I gave of, taking people off the list or having to have that conversation. I honestly, I was prepared to have to do that, because, there's been some instances, but, very few. And ultimately it's just not really happening, which is great. And I think because it's not happening and people know the culture of the event, that's why people are really talking about it and spreading the word. It's unique and a great place to hang out.
To any Jake fan people that follow, I'm not suggesting that if you were taking off that invite list that you are trash. I was just using the phrase.
Yeah. Our good friend Kim Hasty, former guest of the show, says, are most of your events in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area?
So I have been hosting the events in the Great Neck area. I think it's a great area. It's central, and central in Virginia Beach. It's a little bit harder for the people in Norfolk to get, a little bit harder. I mean, it's 15, 20 minutes. We get really set in our ways in this area. I mean, I grew up in Northern Virginia, and it's 30 minutes to get anywhere, but around here, people are like, oh, it's far, it's 25 minutes. I'm like, come on, it's not that bad. But yeah, I host them mostly in Great Neck. It's central. I try to do them along the interstate there, so it's an easy on off. And I like the area, but it's also, kind of intentional with my real estate business to position myself as, the go-to in Great Neck.
I usually ask this question later, but I'm gonna ask it now because I want to move to something else after this, and maybe Tim will be fine with it. But like, is there anything from a business perspective that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I mean, I think just the name of the game is being genuine and authentic. You don't have to start a networking event. I think, and your value add doesn't have to be that ridiculous or, it's just really being authentic. With the emails that I'm sending, I'm getting a 50% open rate. People know that my emails are just fun, and they want to open them. They want to see what's going on. So I think being genuine, authentic is really important. And like we've been talking about this whole time, that's the way to build relationships. And in any business, you need relationships. You need promoters that are going to tell people about your business.
I'm just waiting for Zack to transition to this shifting gears here. Is The Rock going to ask a question?
That would be fun. I should pull up a video of that. Okay, so you run a lot. You've done what's the longest run you've ever done?
52 miles
and that was in the hills, right? A mountain.
Yes, it was at Afton Mountain, and it took just under 14 hours. So like I said before, I started my more serious running career in about 2019 and did 2 half marathons in 2020. And then I felt like, okay, I'm never going to be as fast as Tim. I've reached my peak here.
We all do that. We all do that. We're like, damn, this Miller. Like,
yes. He's fast.
He talks about how I'm a lot older than you, but like, no, you're faster than
well, yeah,
like, come on, dude.
Around you for sure.
Yeah. I ran a race with Tim, Jake, real quick. I ran a race with him, and he was like, not even like, no care in the world. Like, I'm dying, right? And this cat is just like running by everyone. Hello, how's it going? What's going on? Like,
did you run at the Swamp Man event that I put together? The half marathon?
He won it.
I won it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah.
129.
So that was the race that I changed gears, and I was like, okay, I ran a 147. Tim obviously ran a 129. I'm not getting, Tim aside, I'm not getting much faster than that. So I switched gears and I signed up for a 52-mile race in the mountains, and trained my ass off, and that was awesome. And then now I've really been sticking with the ultra marathons, and my next race is a 100-miler in March.
Nice. That's super cool.
How does that help business and life? What do you do to help that, or what have you learned from that perspective?
So I'm a very goal-oriented person, and having, it's not necessarily a streak where every day I'm running, but having, a routine, knowing, okay, I've got this run planned and I'm, checking this off. So, that goal that I'm working towards of the 100 miles is fantastic. It'd be great to accomplish that. But it's really the journey along the way, setting those routines, okay, I've got a 30-miler this weekend as my training, and, the experience of really just like sticking to that along the way really definitely helps keep me motivated and in gear for, the things I'm doing with my business, and it helps with motivation all around.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's interesting with me, like when I'm interviewing somebody, and just in terms of like, hey, can I talk to you about business? And then we set up that first meeting. A lot of times I'll ask people, I'm like, hey, like, what do you do? What hobbies do you have? What do you do for fun? Or if someone's like, if you can go through the training to do a marathon, to do a half marathon, to do an ultra, or whatever the case is, that's an indicator to me, like, okay, you can establish a plan, you can follow a plan, you can stick to the plan, and you can see it through to the finish. So that's someone I'm more inclined to be willing to spend some time with, as opposed to someone's like, oh, I can't do that. There's just no way that I could. I couldn't even do a 5K. And it's just like, well, you need to be mentally strong and mentally tough, and you'd be surprised what you're able to do. So it's interesting to me that's where I correlate the two. I mean, it's just to be able to do the hard stuff when you don't want to do it.
Yeah. Waking up on the days where it's raining, and like you said earlier, like, it's going to rain this weekend, you got to run. Like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to get the run in, and it's going to suck, but when it's finished, that mentality of I can do this, and even if it sucks, it just helps with everything else in life, business. It definitely, there's a big correlation between, exercise and business that I see for sure.
And doing things that suck, if you're just used to it then.
Yeah. I mean, well, just like, for you, I don't know if we were live or not when you had mentioned cold calling or whatever. So like, that's to be able to have the mental strength to do that. I mean, you probably, I'm guessing, since you mentioned it, that you've done it enough that you don't even think anything of it. now, or it's not as painful as it was when you had to start doing it?
I don't like cold calling.
Well, I don't either. But it is though.
And these are actually not even cold. I mean, I'm running some Google and Facebook ads. People come to my website that I've set up. They browse some houses, and I just try to get them on the phone, figure out their situation, and obviously try to get them as a client. And it's draining when people hang up on you, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more mentally tough and can put up with that. And I don't know. I'm really settling into this. The fruits of my labor are really coming now from the networking events and the sphere of influence and everything. So, like I said, I mean, I've got a good bit of deals under contract right now, and I haven't had to cold call for those. So I'm really settling into that, and I'll do the cold calling to make sure I'm staying top of mind with my leads. But your point definitely holds true. I mean, I wasn't able to run a mile when I first started running, and that was about 2 years ago. And now I'm going to run 100. Like, yeah, anything is possible. You just have to have a little bit of that, flip that switch a little bit and just get up off the couch. And that's the hardest part.
Yeah, it's and certainly everyone has a different situation. I mean, some people have just maybe had a knee replacement or something like that. So I'm not discounting people that are medically not capable of doing it, but it's just really, really easy to just say that you can't. And I applaud you for what you're doing. Zach, I just lost my train of thought where I was going. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Jake, was it like the thing that will be interesting to have you on the show again? If Zach and I are still doing this in 5 years, is that you're doing what you're doing for the right reason. You're not doing this. You're doing this because you like to connect with people. You're doing this because you like to help people out. At the same time that unbeknownst to you, you're building this. People are remembering you. And so then when it comes time to buy that house or sell that house, they're going to remember you. So you're not doing this because you want to be like Mr. Real Estate Hampton Roads. You're doing it for the right reason today. And so in 5 years' time, it'll be interesting to see what that results in. I mean, for me, for example, I've never wanted to be Mr. Entrepreneurship dude from, within Hampton Roads, and Zach never set out to be like that either. But it's just it's bananas though, when people contact you out of the blue that you've never met before, or people are like, man, I've been following you online for a really, really long time. And you're like, whoa.
Here's a real life story with that. I had an office in downtown basically since 2010-ish, doing all things kind of small business, startup type of things. I haven't had an office in downtown in 5 years. 5 years. I go to downtown Norfolk maybe once a month to go to a mailbox to pick up some stuff, right? Yesterday, I told you guys, yesterday was the first time I had a, in-person meeting, whatever, in 2.5, 3 years. Yesterday, I'm there. And Tim, you've kind of seen this too. But I don't do anything in downtown anymore. But I kid you not, maybe 4 or 5 people in the 2 minutes that I was outside on the corner walked by and were saying something to me. And we're trying to have conversations. And I'm like, I don't do anything else in this world anymore. And from a downtown Norfolk perspective, and it's still there. It's interesting to think about that and to think about kind of how you just said that, Tim. You do a good job of that stuff. People will remember. And it's kind of wild to think about. Be like, wow.
Well, and just not knowing the impact that you leave on people. So when you have one of those days that you're down in the valley, Jake, and you're like, man, what am I doing? You're not aware of the impact that you're leaving on someone. And then some days be like, oh yeah, man, I went to a networking event, or I got your email, or someone forwarded your email, and you're like, wow, I had no idea that was even happening. I mean, so, and perhaps you've already experienced it. If not, you will soon. I guarantee it.
Yeah, you never know what's happening behind the doors.
It's wild.
Yeah, no, I've definitely met some people who are already on my list, and connected with them in person, and that's been pretty wild. But I do want to say I really appreciate you're seeing that the authenticity, because that is it is genuine. I'm really just trying to help people connect, and yes, it's helping to grow my business, but I'm just having fun with it. Like, life is really good as an entrepreneur now. I'm just hanging out and hosting events and connecting with people, and it's just fun. And if I can keep having fun and then the bills get paid, that's good.
Well, so I'll leave you with an example as we round third base on the show. No pun intended with this. My daughter works with the Norfolk Tides for the last 2 summers, and she was up in the press box working the scoreboard this summer. And then she texted me a picture, and it was the night that you had a networking thing at Harbor Park. And she's like, "Hey, Jake is here." And the reason that she knew you is because she does a lot of the calendar work and posting to Instagram the different events that are happening. So it's just like, now, she recognizes your name there, and, so you're having an impact that you have no idea that stuff's even happening. So
that's awesome. I love it. That's great. Very cool.
Don't get all red, Jake. I could see it.
Yeah, I told her, I was like, "Hey, go down there and introduce yourself to him." But she doesn't get very many breaks when she's doing, I don't know, she was doing the scoreboard or sound during the time that game. But
right, yeah,
awesome.
You'll have to have her come out to the event and we can meet in person.
Yeah,
next time.
Yep.
Anything else, Tim?
No, man. Fun hour, like always.
Absolutely. It's been fun, guys.
Jake, appreciate it. Those that are interested in attending the event, head on over to jakemaines.com. Also, just check out the show notes, and that link will be there as well.
And if you're looking at the show notes, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you need to do, support us. We're always looking to build our audience as well.
And when you're down, wear a black t-shirt because it'll bring you up. That's the way to do it. Jake, peace.
So long, Jake. Thanks so much, man.